Hey, everybody. Welcome to 1 Degree of Scandalous with Kato Kalin.
Just put my glasses on. I can hear much better now.
I'm Tom Zenner. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the home for Scandal Talk, and praise God, there's always a good scandal or 10, right?
Oh, yeah. I was telling you that. I mean, just go on the news, any news site. I don't care. Something outrageous happens that you go, can it get any worse?
Can it get any worse? Unfortunately, it can.
Right.
And we'll be here to cover it. No, we're going to go through some of our past episodes today, some of the good ones, because we've had some unbelievable guests over the past year. I think this is episode number 40 for us. We're approaching a year.
Yeah.
At the end of June, it's going to be a year.
So if you're a first-time, watcher, a virgin, basically, if you're a first-time virgin on our show, please pop the YouTube channel for us right now. You were saying cherry, Tom. Don't even go there, Tom. It reminds me of a story when the guy slept with the guy, his daughter, and the guy runs out. The father says, "Hey, my daughter's a virgin," and he says, "I apologize, sir. It won't happen again." So, anyways, he said it goes a long way for that joke. The old virgin joke.
See what happens when I don't say anything for a minute? I just let him roll. It gets good.
Oh,
it gets good.
You grew up in Minnesota. I grew up in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
When you go through that weird age that you're at, you start experimenting with your body. When you're growing up, you go through puberty and all that. And my father gave me that speech, and I'm just telling the folks there. He said, "Son, it's perfectly normal for a boy your age to experiment with his body." Sexually and all that. Just not at the dinner table. No, but Tom, I'm kidding.
Rules are rules.
Tom,
Kato, come on.
It's not at the dinner table with mom, the kids I grew up with 6. It is 1 degree of scandalous, and I just started a scandal.
Thank God there was no social media when you were growing up, right?
Bill Maher joke.
Oh, you would have been able to hammer the Brewers at a younger age, just crush them on. I noticed we're a couple weeks into the MLB season. You're already letting Kristen Yelich have it on a daily basis.
You know sports very well, Tom. Kristen Yelich, how often, with 16 games already on the schedule, how often does a batter get up 4 times the bases loaded and produce nothing? And that tells you a lot right there. Bases loaded already this year 4 times. And it's not a sports show, but it's not one. Strike out twice, pop up, and a ground out.
What's your beef with him? Because
I liked him when he was good. He got the big contract, and ever since he got the big contract, it's the Rocky III syndrome. When you start getting everything, you lose. You lose that the eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
You just lose it all, and he's lost it. And people,
it's frustrating sports because you got to be hungry. At that level, you always have to be hungry. That's why I like the NHL playoffs right now. You see the guy that scored the game-winning goal for Minnesota last night? The dude was like almost out of the game earlier, right? He was so injured, and he comes back and scores the goal. Not a lot of complaining in hockey, a little bit different in some of the other sports. And then you look at these contracts they're giving NFL quarterbacks that haven't done much. Well, like Jalen Hurts just got this huge one.
And the guy with the Kings, he played at in your turf at in Minnesota. What is that school called?
Are you talking about the Sacramento Kings or the LA Kings?
LA Kings. He scored the winning goal in overtime at Edmonton, and he played. What's the big hockey school? I can't believe
Minnesota?
Duluth.
Duluth. Okay,
yeah,
Minnesota Duluth.
Yeah, Duluth.
Yeah, they're good too. A lot of stuff going on. We're gonna talk about some of our past episodes because damn, we've had some good guests. And you know what, Kato? Your life is gonna get crazy. I thought about this the other day because. Well, we'll talk about your trip where you're heading out to Massachusetts for the Salem. What is it? The Salem Witch Festival? What is it called?
No, actually, what I'm doing, Tom, is I'm going to Salem. In July, I'm doing the Outlander. It's a TV series, very popular. I'm doing there along with this TV show called The Last Kingdom, and they have the actors. They're all pretty much from out of Scotland and Wales and Ireland and London, and they're all flying out for a Comic-Con. I'm the MC, so I'm going there this week to film bits for it. And we're going to film an entire week of me with a company that hired me. I came up with this Mercedes shuttle called the Kato Cab. So throughout that, there's a huge festival going on in Salem all week. And I'll be driving with the mayor of Salem, and we're going to pick up random people. That's part of one of the bits where I do the seeing the sights of Salem. I've been to Salem like last year. It's beautiful, and I had no idea that it had so much going on in this city. And it's right off a wharf. And it's also there's the houses of witches of all the hangings that went on, the burnings at the stake. So it's
there's probably some weird spirits in the air. I mean, so a lot of that did happen. They actually burned witches back in the day. What would it take to get burned? Like, what would get you accused of being a witch?
I don't know, but I was just asked to be rare or just extra rare.
You hand them your cooking instructions?
Right there, please. One lighter, that's it. Okay, I'm done, please. I'm no longer a witch.
What kind of marinade do they use on a Kato Kale?
I think it's a funny question about if you're a witch. I think it's all political because even if you're not a witch, it depends on the government at that time saying, you know what, this person's going to get killed no matter what. We're going to burn this person.
Oh, so you're saying times haven't changed at all?
Yeah, exactly.
Got you.
No, but if you think that's a lot of the burning of the witches that were the stake weren't even witches. It was done by vote. So
yeah,
that's and Salem is.
It's amazing how much knowledge about Salem that you do have from going there a few times a year.
Yeah,
I bet the K train rolls into town and it's pretty epic, right? I bet the whole city's going bananas for you.
I just talked to the people yesterday how pumped they are. It is going to be fun. We're picking up quite a few other people. We're picking up some of the people from Outlander. They have an actual. It's medieval in a lot of the shows where they have the knights fighting with the armor, and that's one of the people in our pickup. And I thought that'd be kind of funny. And it's supposed to be raining, where he gets on and needs an oil can because he's in this gear that weighs at least 100 pounds, and he'll be getting on this shuttle with his sword and the chain ball what they used to fight with. And last year where they had the actual guys, we had a battle that went on, and it was like it was balls out. It was like 30 people fighting each other. So, and I was the commentator for that. We had axe throwing. It was just.
All right, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Speaking of axe throwing, are you wearing axe today? I smell something.
Smell good. Are you going back there in July?
Yeah, I go back now, and then I'll go back in July again.
Okay. So you're flying out there. You went to Orlando a few weeks ago. You're gone a lot. I'm gone a lot. Did you see that story on Jesse James Decker and her sister, her pregnant sister that was flying with a couple kids? She's 5 months pregnant,
right?
And this was on a United. So Jesse, her husband was Eric Decker, played in the NFL, and they're kind of chasing the limelight, trying to stay relevant, right? I mean, she's like a pseudo country singer or something, and Eric is out of football now. He's actually from Minnesota as well. But crazy story, because what happened was her toddler spilled popcorn, right? And according to her, and then her husband plays for the Toronto Blue Jays. And
two of them, though, right? Two toddlers.
Yeah, two toddlers, and then she's pregnant. One of them spilled popcorn and popcorn seeds underneath the seat. And then the flight attendant said, and she was all mad, right? She came back there and read her the riot act and said the captain insists that you pick up these kernels of popcorn. They made her get on all fours. Do you believe it happened like that? I mean, it seems like a pretty strong, detailed explanation from everybody involved. Now, Jesse James just sticking up for her sister. I've been on a lot of flights. Usually the flight attendants are pretty nice. I mean,
yeah, is it like an air vac? Like,
I think they made her pick up all the kernels. What do you? I mean, the last flight you were on, anything like that happen?
You know, I always see the things on. I always watch my Twitter feed of the fights that go on in airlines. I'm waiting for one of those to happen, where you have a fight. I haven't had that yet, but yeah, they're usually pretty kind, and I'm always the flight attendants. I like flying, but personally, Delta I like.
There's the Delta does a good job. There's a big discrepancy. When I was a few years ago, I flew every single week. I was going from Phoenix to Minneapolis every single week. And so I saw some crazy things. I wanted to do a coffee table book on I was going to call it Dorks on a Plane, because people are so weird on an airplane and in the airport.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I literally could do multiple volumes of this book. Everybody watching and listening to this can relate to this. How about the guy, the business dude in the airport that's walking around with a handless, he's talking on a phone. It's a business call. He's got the ear things in, right? So he can use his hands, and he's so animated. And get this to Bill and CC Donna and all this corporate mumbo jumbo. He's talking so loud and so important. I would say that's in the top 5 of my pet peeves. Right. Have a private conversation. Shut the hell up. Yeah. I don't want to know what's going on in your business, unless it's scandalous. Then I want to hear it all.
Probably talking to a telemarketer too. This guy.
Who knows? Okay, I remember one time I was on a flight, and the dude sitting next to me, I could tell right away, was just crazy. Really high energy, but in a frantic way. And he was slamming his thing up and down, slamming drinks. In the middle of the flight, he puts down his tray, and he starts laying down all these business cards for porn sites. And like trying to make sure that I was seeing them. And doing the weird, and then he was talking to me that, hey, when we land, I'm going to this club, even though we were landing at about midnight. It was a late flight. And he acted like he was going to the VIP lounge at the W, and he's giving so he's pretending that he's calling the W on the plane on his cell phone, which was impossible. Right. And this thing got even crazier and more weird. But you do see some weird things when you fly a lot.
Yeah. I don't think someone has porn on their phone if they do that in a flight and all that. And by the way, I'm totally against it, because it doesn't. Well, it doesn't really educate us, it doesn't enlighten us, and it doesn't really come in clear because I got a really bad Wi-Fi signal. So I was like, what is that? It looks like a boob. No, it's a nose. I don't know. I'm shaking my phone.
That's when you got to hit the call button and see if the flight attendant can help you.
Yeah.
Right? See what their tolerance level is then.
Have you ever met anybody that's done the Mile High Club?
Claim to it or saw it?
Well, I mean,
in action? Like, I walk into the bathroom, sorry. No.
No, and I have no friends that've done it, right? I don't personally
say that.
Oh.
I can't say that.
I don't even know. That's a tough one to do, I think.
I think you got to be creative. You got to be a little flexible.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be committed. You got to say, this is happening. I think you could get away with it kind of on maybe an overnight flight, maybe in first class or something. I'm not sure. Allegedly. I don't know.
The airlines, like you said, the airlines have been, when they started the thing, I don't know what it's called with meritocracy as far as they're hiring anyone to fly a plane now, and it's just and I fly a lot, and I want the best person flying the plane. I want to have the guy that has 100,000 hours. That's the safety. If they don't have safety in mind, it's
why can you tell if somebody doesn't? Were they just trying to be too funny or something?
I don't know. You fly a lot. I fly a lot. I always am on edge. I always try to look for the pilot. I am always on edge when I look at passengers of who would be the crazy one like you, and then I'm on edge the entire flight.
Don't do that. Don't look at the pilots anymore because unless you're going to get off the plane, you're just going to be nervous the whole flight.
Yeah.
Just assume they know what they're doing.
I am a bad flyer.
Just assume does it take some of the sting off? I got to believe that you're pretty popular on airplanes, right?
Well, I say hi. The flight attendants usually say hi to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love it being on an airplane landing safely. That's
your favorite part of it?
Yes, of course.
Like when Kato's clapping.
When Southwest, when you get the budget with the three different, layover, you have the flights where you're not direct.
Austin,
it's like,
Vegas.
Exactly. Yeah. Like going to Milwaukee, it's like, I'll just take a crop duster. I got the better odds. I'll get there quicker.
All right. So here's another way I think your life's going to get crazy. It's the 30-year anniversary coming up, in a year, right? So throughout this year, I think like a lot of networks, a lot of production companies are going to be like working in advance on probably commemorative stories, documentaries, special features. 30 years.
I'm blown away.
I mean, think about it. When that happened, how old were you?
33, 34.
Huh. Almost half your life has been through this version. Yeah, Where would you predict that you would have been without that circumstance, without being in the wrong place at the wrong time, based on where your acting career was going at the time, the opportunities that you had? Give me a best case scenario, do you think?
It's hard for me to say that because no matter what, it's going to sound
of course, but you don't sound that way. You have a charm where it doesn't sound that way when you say it.
I was getting A-list auditions. That's all I'll say. I was getting there. I was like, I could feel something was happening. I went to an academy for act. I did everything. I did all the grunt work. I did every odd job just to have survive.
Yeah.
So all the A-list stuff was happening. In 1994, I read for Dumb and Dumber, so that became a huge hit. So I was like, oh God, I'm getting these really great readings.
It was Jeff Daniels' role, right?
Well, I read that one, but I also read a few different roles. And by the way, the casting they did was great. Rick Montgomery was the casting director for the Farrelly Brothers. Like I said, Jeff Daniels is amazing in it, and I wouldn't have gotten it, but it was great that I was getting there, and then my buddy produced the film, and I was with New Line Aaron Meyerson, so I was like always around who people are my friends and making things happen, and Aaron became a huge executive at I think CBS and MTV, which I'm still friends with, but obviously after 30 years he's got a family, so we don't actually hang out, but still, I saw him about a year ago. But that's where I thought my life was going.
Okay.
My life was still pursuing what I love to do is acting and hosting.
Yeah, and that's what you came out to LA for?
Yeah.
And you went to acting school?
Yeah. Went to an academy. I went to a Creative Actors Academy. So did it all, and then I studied with probably one of the most famous acting coaches ever, Ivana Chubbuck, who did Brad Pitt and Matthew Perry and Jolie, and I'm name dropping, but I was with that. I was in that thing that was kind of happening.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in that mix, then it's just a matter of time. It's a numbers game. The more auditions, the more relationships you have with the casting directors, with director, and all you need is that one break, and then you're there. You're one of those guys.
It's funny because I see some of the people that are on TV and actually I remember going on auditions with people and doing commercials, and they became either semi-big stars or got series. And I just remember like a guy named Kyle Secor. I did my first audition. He and I landed a Coke commercial. And then he got he's done quite a few films, and he was one of the leads in that. This is a while ago, obviously. Julia Roberts, The Enemy Within, Sleeping with the Enemy.
Oh, yeah.
That one, yeah. He's the he has the boat. He's like the third, fourth lead in it. But it's all like, oh my God. He was like, I was on auditions with him all the time. But anyways, you see that going on.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm supposed to go to Chicago in May, and I haven't heard. It's a celebrity golf. It's for charity. I don't know if it's happening still because of all the violence that's going on in Chicago. So I'm wondering myself, and it's a lot of actors that I know that have been great comedy because Chicago had Second City.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to go. I wanted to go, and I think it's happening, but I don't know if you're watching all this violence going on. People in the nice part of Michigan Avenue, all the high-end stores, and that's where they put us up. It's like riots, constantly rioting. And
I know.
like,
A couple nights
so
last
I
weekend in
wonder if
Chicago.
it's going to happen or not.
I hope not. I hope they get a
No,
hold
I
of
meant
that.
I wonder if the charity,
the event?
the charity might just be said no way.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because when you were doing the auditions, that's when you could actually make a comedy, right? The 90s, the 2000s. Now it doesn't exist. I mean, you can't find a real comedy anymore. I saw the trailer for the new Ashton Kutcher. He's in this with Reese Witherspoon. It's a romantic comedy. I mean, it is so Pollyanna, homogenized, weird. You know, it's just like nothing how they used to make movies.
Will it even make theaters?
It's on Netflix now. I think I
Then
forgot
it
the
won't-
name of it.
Then it won't make theaters.
Yeah, but that was the right time. I mean, you would have flourished because the early 2000s, Vince Vaughn, that whole crew,
Yeah.
Ben Stiller. I mean, that's when movies were funny.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny that you said that because I remember an audition I had after the trial, almost right after I became famous for all the wrong reasons, but I started getting auditions. But I remember I got called in. One of the biggest casting directors, Billy. What's his name? Billy. It was for a film though called Copycat with Sigourney Weaver, and it was the role that a gentleman that I work with, William McNamara, got as the serial killer. So I read it for the serial killer, and they put me on tape, and I didn't get it, but I was like, it was a major motion picture with Sigourney Weaver. And William McNamara did a show called Beggars and Choosers on the life of Brandon Tartikoff, and I got a few, and he was in that, and I did scenes with a gentleman named Brian Krause, and I had so much fun on the life of Brandon Tartikoff. Beggars and Choosers is a Showtime series.
Well, there's no question your phone's going to be ringing, I think, because people are going to be calling you if they want to revisit what happened. How do you feel about that? Are you apprehensive to talk about it? Do you have a different perspective now because you did so many interviews? You were such a big part of the story.
Tom, I'll tell you, it's I was apprehensive, but the more I've done the podcast with you and the people I'm meeting in the podcast and how the podcast world is so popular and true crime basically is the number one genre of podcasting, it's become more comfortable to talk about. And I see from comments that I get how it actually helps people. And it's cathartic for me. It really is cathartic for me. So it depends on who wants to do the show. I'm approached by a company, Tubi, owned by Fox, and you can tell when you talk to people it's going to be done very classy.
Yeah. And you know what? When they interview you, it's only going to go a certain direction. They're going to get great storytelling. They're going to get perspective. Like, there's so many stories. If you're just new to this show, there's stories that Kato has shared that I had not heard before. You got to tell us this one, Kato. This is classic. So, and I'll set this one up because that's my job. I'm the tee-up guy here. I'd be great with the alley-oops in the NBA to Giannis over here. It's the night of the murders. Overnight, June 12th, and the detectives are knocking on your door. It's Van Adder, probably. It's Mark Furman. It's Tom Lang. Whoever it is, the star detectives in LAPD. You have no idea what's going on. All you know is that your car is outside and you had something in your car that was convenient for you to go back and forth to Hermosa Beach or the South Bay on your commute. Do you care to share that story?
Well, it wasn't. I already had moved from the South Beach, but I had it when I had it during the South Beach. I had a casting business, and I was on the road a lot on movie sets, and the traffic in LA is just, if people know, that's the 405, the 101, the 5. It's god awful. And sometimes the carpool lane's the best way to go, but if you're carpooling by yourself, it's a $350 ticket, and that's a lot of money back then. It's a lot of money right now. So $350, so I had my own mannequin, and I had a mannequin named Dolores, and I had her, and it looked very human, and that would ride in the front seat with me. And I could adjust it sometimes to, I could move the head as if it's talking to me, and I used it often, and that's, I asked Tom Lang on a show, and he's on one of our shows, and by the way, Tom Lang, that's a show people should watch. His stories are amazing too, but he's the one that said to me, all of us detectives are wondering, why does this guy have a mannequin head? in his car. We got to find out. And then Tom and I, 30 years coming up, became friends for the whole time.
Tom Langs,
Tom
man.
knows that
so
story.
Dolores was naked, right? Or did you have? Was she fully
Dolores,
clothed?
No, Dolores was just a head, but I propped it up with a body. Dolores was a head. I had it all on my back of my old 300ZX. And I had it there, and it was
nice hair,
makeup, beautiful. It was a mannequin from a cosmetology school. So
wow! Did you get close? I mean, did you? Did you have to say goodbye eventually? Where is Dolores these days?
Let me tell you what. 1994, I started AI, the robots. It was me that started that whole thing.
Well, thanks, Kato. You're responsible for destroying the world in about 5 years. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. By the way, did you watch the interview? You were telling me a little bit about Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon Musk.
Because Elon Musk, I mean, when he talks, you got to listen. And he's been saying this for a long time. And now AI is just shot out of the gate. It's like insane. Every day there's new advancements.
I first of all, I love Elon Musk, and I think he's genius with his Tesla and SpaceX. But he's telling a story yesterday on another network where he's telling the story of he put that behind so he could focus on SpaceX and Tesla when AI was going on. And he now what he knows of AI going on, he says absolutely would destroy humanity.
So he said that all the time. He said that to Tucker Carlson. You heard him say it?
Tucker Carlson. And
did he say how?
AI will be. He said the thing is that since the world began, man has been smartest, and now man will no longer be smarter. Something will be smarter than man, so that entity will take over, and that's what he said. It will be the destruction of civilization. I believe him, and he says it, with such a serious face, and he's serious about it. So he's trying to get technology to slow down, which I don't think it will. And he talks about Larry Page. They were buddies. Larry Page started Google. And then he says on the show that he wants to be a digital god, and they had a huge falling out.
I wonder how that conversation went after Larry Page saw that, because I've never heard that before about him.
Elon Musk used to crash on his couch, so I started the whole house guest thing. Musk copied Kato. Took
it to a new level.
Can I tell you at that time I was working for a company called National Lampoon Comedies. This is the true story. Back when Google started, when it became a stock, when stock starts out, there's a term.
The IPO?
The IPO for Google. Mm-hmm. When it started with Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Motley Fool did a story on it. It said Google, the Kato Kalin of stocks, and it was very degrading to me. It became the biggest thing. I wrote them on letterhead and said, how do you guys feel about that with everything going on? I still have that letter. I got to find it. And I said, is there any way you guys can throw me some stock?
How about just a couple?
This is 1994 or 5 that I wrote them when this is happening. Motley Fool, people can Google this, listen to our show. Motley Fool had Kato Kalin. Google the Kato Kalin of stock options or something. But it was my headline. I was just cracking up going, this is the biggest company in the world now. I said, poke fun at me. You see what happens.
It's crazy because have you used ChatGPT?
No.
Have you tried it?
No, I don't even know. Where do you find it?
You just download it, or you go to the website. It's OpenAI. That's the company that owns it, and you can use it. You can finesse it. I've tried it. It's interesting. I mean, kind of a mixed bag. There's some stuff that just wows you. You can't believe it comes up with that, and then a lot of the stuff is because it's based on the internet. I think from before 2019, so you're not going to get like real time, up to date, relevant things on things like Google would give you.
Can it be used for our show on stuff? Can you?
Yeah, you
can
do
it be
some research or something.
Like a show that we do right now? How would that help our show? Or can you? Is that where you see the stuff where people can put voices on our voices?
No, that's totally different. But that is AI. That's artificial intelligence. But ChatGPT is this bot, this human-like bot that you can ask a series of questions, like really detailed, and it'll help you. And they have a new level of it right now. I think.
So what's the difference between that and Siri?
A lot.
Really?
A lot. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about that later. But yeah, Siri was ahead of her time maybe 10 years ago. Well, but this stuff is different, and it's advancing weekly.
Well, I want you to know that I put a direct message into Elon to do our show. We'll see what happens.
I think you just have to live life every day because, unfortunately for me, I'm subjected to the news every day, so I see it. And I think it affects your health. I wish I wasn't subjected to the news as much as I was.
100%. Shang-Yi, my wife, she says you can't keep watching all this stuff because I'm a very, very jovial person. I notice that I see stories that are destructive to humans.
The country. Mm-hmm.
The country. and I'm 100% affected. This did not happen 3 years ago.
Kato, you got to consciously pull yourself away. You do. You try to consume less. Don't be on it all day, because then you're going to get sucked into the voices that are telling you kind of what you already know, but in a more dramatic fashion. It's going to freak you out even more.
Yeah.
Right? And they know that. That's how they keep you on. That's why the media does it. Anyway, I try to avoid, it's brainwashing all day, and it's all negative. All of it.
Yeah.
There isn't anything positive when you follow the news all day. And real life isn't that bad.
Well, I think that's why news stories on every network always, I can't say for every network, but normally they end the news with an uplifting story of a cat, being saved in a
which
tree.
is complete BS.
Exactly.
The water skiing squirrel, all that crap. It's a joke.
They always try to end it with a high note.
It's called a kicker, right? You do that at the end of the news. It gives the anchors a little chance to chuckle. I don't even watch the local news anymore, so I don't even know if they do it.
Exactly.
Let's get back to something else, the OJ trial.
The 30 years.
30 years coming up. One of the other stories that you've said that I think is the most relevant part of the entire OJ story, phenomena, just the iconic nature of it, is what happened the night, maybe a few hours beforehand, when you're talking to a friend of yours, a female, and you're conversing, figuring out if you guys want to get together or something. This is probably, 9 or 10 o'clock at night on Sunday the 12th, right? And then it had a direct impact of what happened, about 4:30 or 5 in the morning, right? And it started with what you thought was an earthquake in L.A., an earthquake that didn't happen, right?
Right. I was talking to you right now. We have a wall back here. My room did not have any windows, so I just noticed a picture moving. And I was talking to a woman that, we're deciding, should I come to your place or you want to come to mine? And during our conversation, the picture moved, and I said, I think we just had an earthquake. So that she said no, and then later on I went outside and saw the limo driver named Alan Park. And Alan, I said, hey, I'm Kato. Did you feel that earthquake? He goes, no, I didn't feel an earthquake. I said, oh. I kept thinking about why that picture moved. Anyways, that was told to Furman, Mark Furman, detective. I said, hey, it's probably nothing, but I saw this picture move.
This was 5 a.m., right, when they came?
Yeah,
they came to your door,
5:30.
the bungalow?
But they stayed with me for about 15 minutes in my room. They just asked me a bunch of questions. And anyways, they went back, and that's, of course, where they found the bloody glove.
So that was literally OJ. Describe what it looked like back there.
Well,
was there a gate or something they had to jump over?
Allegedly, they said they thought that's where he had jumped over. It's a very small space that a body is very tough to get through there. Just not enough room. And OJ's a big guy, but you could still walk through it, and full of cobwebs. And that's what they found in my air conditioning unit. That was probably hit, and a glove dropped, and then the other glove was at the crime scene. So 2 gloves. It's just
And then speaking of the crime scene.
Yeah, and Tom Lang talks about evidence withheld, which is his book, about how much evidence was withheld. And that show with Tom just blew me away of knowing. And then I did a TV show with Tom, directed by Greg Donis on the Reels Network. And then I really saw over 500 pieces of evidence not used. 500.
Yeah. Tom was talking about that because the show was probably shot back then and they were editing it, and it aired on Reels maybe 2 months ago, right? And he talked about he has a warehouse with all this evidence that LAPD had, right? They had this and wasn't used for whatever reason. Like we got a great taste of this when we had Jill Shively on our show. Mm-hmm. So go back and listen to this one. This is about 2 months ago. And her story is, the night of the murders, she was in her car, and she was heading to a grocery store on San Vicente, and she was coming up on Bundy, and a white Bronco came right at her, came off the median, and almost took her out. And she memorized the license plate and saw the face, and boom. And it was OJ. And then she couldn't use, Marcia Clark would not use her because she sold her story to hard copy for $5,000.
Yeah,
didn't you get the sense that she really regretted it? I mean, she did feel bad.
That story was goosebumps for me. Mm-hmm. Just goosebumps that hearing it from Jill, seeing the car and memorizing the license plates, and it turns out to be his car. To me, that was sort of a slam dunk also of evidence not used. Yeah,
it's almost like, okay, because you were testifying. At what point did you testify? Was that early in the trial? And how many days was it where you were on?
I was there more. It was 6 days and 7 days on the stand. But I was down there for that month, just waiting because you're certain something might happen where a motion dismissed and they call it for the day. So you're sort of on call. Yeah. I just remember just being in a room twice as small as the room we're in right now.
And it wasn't glamorous, right? You were sitting there just
sweating.
You were watching it? Were you watching it on a
closet.
closed circuit or
No,
something?
No, you can't. I was sequestered.
Wow.
I didn't watch
They don't want
anything.
you to hear any of it.
But that was the time. And like you said, 30 years. It's really amazing.
It's
to
crazy
see where everybody's at, and then so many shows from ESPN getting the Academy Award. Ryan Murphy's American Crime Story, winning 8 Emmys. It's always out there in the news. And then recently, OJ was on a podcast. I understand he was paid a lot, and I just started following these guys. Yeah. I can't think of their name, but he was on the podcast. And one of the questions they asked him that OJ deflected, he says, "I'm not going to go there," if he was looking for the killers or something. And he just deflected. He didn't really talk about anything.
I remember when I was a kid, and I was such a big sports fan. Sports was my whole life, and I grew up in a small town, so I didn't go to a lot of professional sports games. But when I would go to one, or a Minnesota Gophers football game, I thought the coolest thing is, man, I watched that game. Now I can go watch the highlights. And I thought it was so cool. Something I saw, it was then on the news that night. And I remember that play. That was so cool. How was it for you? Because you knew everybody involved, and then this story took over the whole world. Was it surreal? Because you couldn't be sequestered at night. You were watching the news. You'd see the reports. Yeah. It was everywhere. You couldn't avoid it. Was it like an out-of-body experience for you?
Yeah, I think it very much so. But I think it was what I remember the most about everything was talking to my family and to my mom and having her cry when she would hear bad stories from the current affairs, hard copies, any tabloid show. And I would just have to tell my mom, don't listen, which would make her want to watch and listen even more. And it was I was affected by everything, but it was the effect that it had on her was even a bigger effect on me because of hearing your mom cry. And I was like, Mom, take it easy. It's going to be okay.
Right, because she took it all personally, right? And this is her son that they're talking about.
Exactly.
And she had to be worried about you, nothing she could do, really. Did you still have the kind of that jovial, did you keep your personality through this?
100%. And I was very connected. My mom and I are both Pisces, and my mom actually passed away on my birthday. So I had this connection with my mom, and I've always had that, and it was just an unbelievable connection, and she's so sensitive, and I guess I am too, but she is ultra sensitive. But yes, when Mom would have it, I could find a way to make her laugh, and that was the key. And my whole family, everything was great. And
well, think about it. Their son is the biggest name on the planet, or one of the top 5. I mean, everybody's talking about it. It had to be crazy for them. I mean, did it help their bar business? Because didn't your dad own a bunch of bars?
Yes, in 2 restaurants, but no, he already had sold them at that time. But I used to go bars back then at that time and do a lot of radio and TV in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And I love going back to where I'm from. Mm-hmm. That's bottom line. I never forgot of who I am and staying humble and always loving being from the Midwest and being from Milwaukee.
Yeah, but you're still scared on that flight over there, thinking it might go down.
That's right. Well, you know me and my flying, yeah.
Hey, what was the aha moment for you? I mean, there had to be a million of them, but where your life has just turned into a 3-ring circus, right? And it was horrible circumstances, but then maybe someone recognizes you, or you see yourself on a show or on the news. Was there any time where you're just going, I cannot believe this is happening to me?
I think no aha moment, but I remember this every monologue from Leno and Letterman was something about me for quite a few weeks, and then Letterman did a bit. I did a show called The Watcher, where I was with Vivica Fox, who was in Kill Bill and quite a few other, and she's my wife in the film. She's my fiance, and I'm this gangster on The Watcher series where I play a gangster. I get killed. I come back as her fiance as a black man. And David Letterman used the clip where I'm dancing very white in a black body. I'm doing this thing, and everybody's going, "What's wrong with I think his name was Leroy or something. What's wrong with Leroy and why is he dancing like that?" So Letterman did that for at least 2 or 3 weeks in a row. They always, Letterman back then would just do a clip of something, and it just like a 3-second clip. Yeah. And it was just.
And then his reaction, right, is always priceless.
Yeah, and that actually was. He wasn't mean-spirited. Leno was on the mean-spirited side.
Yeah. I wonder if part of that was Leno was in L.A. and was a little bit closer to it, and David, was on the other coast. That could be their personalities. I'll tell you what, the perception I got just from Jay Leno is that Judge Ito was incompetent. Like, he really spun that thing with the dancing Itos. Did you ever feel that when you're in that trial? Because a judge can have command, or sometimes you can feel he's controlled by either the defense, or in a federal trial, sometimes the prosecutors have this guy by the nose ring and he just does what he's told.
Yeah, I didn't feel that, but then again, you start seeing the history of who he taught. I think he taught Darden, but I think he also taught Cochran, or it's something that they all know each other. That's kind of bizarre. They all know each other.
How about watching the lawyers in action? Because you were a witness for the prosecution. So did you do some serious powwows and preparation meetings with Darden or with Marcia Clark?
I met with both sides because my attorney at the time was Bill Janego. He passed away, but he was just brilliant man. He said meet with both sides, so I met with him. I don't know how many times, but many times with Marcia Clark. I would say at least 6 times, if not more. And then on the other side, at least 4 times with Shapiro, Cochran, Carl Douglas. The woman's name was Sean something. Met with them. I met with all of them.
Right.
I just met them, and they did with my attorney, Bill Janego, with me. So I felt.
But you had to get some observations, right? Like maybe Johnny Cochran, you could feel was a maestro, and maybe Marcia Clark a little bit out of her league, or did she seem competent?
I think at one point that from hearing from other people that I was Vincent Bugliosi, who wrote Helter Skelter, said that Marcia, his words that he passed away, also said that she didn't use me the right way, that I was on her side, and then the defense saw that, so people thought I was witness for the defense where I wasn't.
But, isn't that crazy?
Yes.
I mean, there could actually be confusion. Right,
yes.
And those guys are masters at spinning that how they want, right?
It's the dream team. But so many, Tom, we'll get into that. But so many things happened from that. There's groups came out as Kato the House Guest group came out. I used to get so much mail and so much underwear, and I did events from the.
Is there a warehouse full of the underwear?
No,
the letters.
I have some boxes, but I've thrown out a lot in just recently too. Probably in the last 2 years, I wish I didn't in hindsight, but I was running out of room. So, and I did that. So I did a whole thing.
Hey, Kato, you can store some in my garage if you need to. If Dolores needs a new place to lay down her head, which is the only part of her body, by the way.
Which is funny, too, because there was a woman named Dolores Montgomery who passed away. She was in a nursing home. I used to make trips there once a month to the nursing home and say hi to all the patients there.
That was really nice.
It was sad. But what is your favorite show that we did?
Okay, if I had to pick one, I'll go with Jason Alexander. I'll go because it took me a while to track him down and to build the
for
trust.
Those that don't know,
okay, so Jason Alexander was the first wife of Britney Spears. They had the 54-hour marriage in Las Vegas. First husband of Britney Spears. So they were kids. They grew up together in Louisiana, right? And I really liked Jason. And I started corresponding with him. So if you remember, last June, Britney gets married to Sam, whatever his name is, who we all think, or I think, is a fixed marriage, an arranged marriage. That thing is just whack. And Jason filled me in on a lot of the details. But the reason that episode was so good is, A, I felt bad for him, how the media treated him back in June at Britney's wedding. They took him down. They made him just seem like just a cartoon character, a loser. I thought it was really, really unfair. He goes to jail. You could tell the guy had no support, no friends, no real anybody here in LA. He's not from here to really help him.
Right.
So he goes to jail because he maybe had another something on his record where something happened in wine country, Napa, and then so he's in jail. He's in jail for 2 or 3 months. I was DMing him. I think he had access to his phone. And
access to a phone in jail?
I don't know. I can't remember. But I was DMing him, and I can't remember if he was out of jail or whatnot. Nothing. I just kept trying. I kept saying, hey, if you want to get your story out, we'll be fair. We'll let you talk. You know, I'm sympathetic to your side of the story. Would love to hear it. And then, boom, one day he just hits me back. And then I said, hey, do you want to meet up for coffee? So he had to go meet with his one of his representatives.
PR team?
No, it was who you check in with if you got a record. Your
social
you know who I mean.
Parole board.
Yeah, your parole officer. So he had to meet with him in Long Beach, and then he was going to meet me on the way back in Manhattan Beach. So I picked a spot. He met me. Immediately in person, he had more of a presence than you'd think he did. Like if you watch the media reports, he played football in college, good-looking guy. You could see how Britney Spears would be into it, right? Because he's got this bad boy attitude. He's kind of a rebel. But you can also tell he's got a heart. Like it reminded me of Dennis Rodman. I used to spend so much time with Dennis Rodman, and he was crazy and unhinged and just wild. But Rodman had a heart. Right? He cared. He was cool. He was sensitive. And you could just sense that. He was thrown into this circumstance that he wasn't prepared for. And that was the same thing with Jason. So I wanted to earn his trust because I really did like him. And I said, hey, look, Kato, No one's been through more than Kato when it comes to the media and everything, and you'll have a safe place to come here. And we had it set up, and we were going to bring him into our old studio that we did over by the Hollywood Bowl. Remember, that place was a mess. I mean, the little studio was cool, but walking in there, man, was kind of dangerous, and you never know. We go, make sure that door's locked before we start these cameras.
And the toilet was another room. You had to go in. You had to step over homeless people. It's like, what? And this is kind of a decent area, but oh my God, it was awful.
So Jason shows up. We shot it on a Saturday. Remember, it was like late in the morning. We did this on a Saturday. He had a couple of his friends come with him that were a good support group for him, and he was amazing. I mean,
he was great. He was vaping too.
He was vaping. I think he had a beer. I think he had the knife that because he said he used to work in construction. So part of the thing when he got arrested at Britney's house was. Right. He had a knife, and that's because he always has a knife because he's in construction.
Yeah.
Here's the two craziest things. Go back and watch this interview, and then all the media picked it up. Extra, National Enquirer. It was all over for a while. The things that blew me away is he was in touch with Britney, and there was clearly a connection and a spark there. They weren't done. Okay, she was seeking, right? And a few days before, he made it seem like they were going to have her sneak out because he knew the layout of the house. That's why he was able to go do it. He knew the layout of the house. She was going to meet him, and they were going to go to Vegas. Right. They were going to go do something crazy. So she was up for it. She had lived as a prisoner for so long, and they had something there. That thing shocked me.
So saying that, yesterday someone posted a video. I follow Twitter pretty closely, and someone posted a video, and the post just said, what is going on with Britney Spears? Because she does some kind of dance, and she does this thing. It's just yesterday, Tom, that was on there. But as far as shows for me, I can't pick a favorite, but certain things highlight me that made me, when you come into the studio, go, this is just going to be good. And one of them is someone that's here at 8 p.m. is Sean Avery, who I love. Sean Avery, of course, hockey pro. He's got his own show, No Gruffs Given, and another one with, I believe,
with Scotty and Kevin Connolly.
Yeah, Kevin Connolly.
Jump in if you want, Scotty. That thing's on fire.
Quick shift.
YouTube show. Go check it out. Seriously, it's on the 8 p.m. YouTube channel. Quick Shift. It's all hockey. And this thing is picking up because of Sean's friends in the NHL. Yeah, Connolly's such a big NHL fan.
But when he came in the studio, it's just he lights it up there. And then I had love with a guy named Extreme Akeem, only because people traveling will see his billboards everywhere. Always. And the Murdaugh trial just happened. Yeah. So here's
perfect timing.
Here was the person that knows who is probably the most popular attorney. He knows all the players, and that's another court drama of he knew everyone. It was just so exciting because it was just happened with the verdict, and we had him that day. So that day when the verdict was out, we had him as a guest. So I think that was exciting, and of course the. Just having certain people that I knew from a Tom Mabe, who's got 5 million followers on YouTube and all the stuff that he does, and comic, but he also has dilemma and drama.
Tom Mabe
in his
is
life.
We're going to have him on again. By the way, if you're in your car and you're listening to this, go listen to some of these old episodes. If you're into pop culture, if you're into Scandal, career, Kato's background, another great one we had is when Anne Heche crashed her car in Playa Vista and died. We had the guy. His name is David Manpearl, and he was awesome. He was the first one on the scene. He was probably the last living human outside of a doctor, maybe, because this is before the house started on fire. The garage started on fire.
And we're putting clips in so people can
we'll
see
drop a few in here. But it's so easy to go back and just go find them.
Yeah, and
binge.
I got to make a quick call back, Tom. I say texting's dangerous when you're texting. Well, I was actually just finished texting, but the last words I heard were, oh! And we mentioned someone that just recently, Tom May, was in an accident. So we just got a text to see if he's okay from that. No.
Tom Mabe just texted you that?
No, I was making sure he's okay.
Oh.
I don't know. I got to make sure that this isn't a lawsuit, but yes. Yeah.
So Tom Mabe, who's a professional funny man, texts you,
No. We were talking.
Oh.
And the phone call was cut off.
Okay.
It's on a speaker, but it was like, oh. And then I said, what happened? Then he explained to me on a text that he got in an accident.
Oh, God.
That someone hit him.
Okay, so recently? Today?
It's just coming over.
Okay. So we'll wrap this up so you can check on his condition. Another great one was Chris Hansen. Great stories of his NBC special, To Catch a Predator. I loved Serena Fazan when she was on here a few weeks ago. She was in the documentary about Jared.
You can't pick a favorite. It's just honestly, I keep telling you, I go, Tom, we're on a roll. I think Scotty will agree. Look at him. You are on a roll.
On a roll.
Yeah, baby. I gotcha.
Scotty, that was great timing. That was very enthusiastic.
But, yeah, I think people just have to get on. It's 1 degree scandalous. And sure enough, numbers are coming up, and people are loving the show.
All right, so that's it. And then once we moved over here to Action Park Media, everything was better.
Oh!
Everything, right? The energy, just the exposure.
Scotty, that was another thing right there. You jumped in right there.
Scotty,
he's playing solitaire. On
no,
the
he's
computer.
working on his next podcast. Hey, hockey season though, right, Scotty? I mean, this is the time.
This is the time.
I mean, how fun is that, right? And explain people what the show is. If you're a hockey fan, and this is gonna cross over to football.
Yeah, Quick Shift
we should do a
is like
basketball one.
Hockey reaction YouTube show. So we play the highlights behind us, and we just let Connolly and Avery kind of roll.
Yeah.
And I throw my 2 cents in every now and
Yeah,
then.
because Scotty played hockey, grew up playing it for years and years and years, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where in what state? What?
I grew up in Vermont, but I played in Massachusetts, and then
I'm heading there tomorrow.
I'm actually from Salem.
Come
Crazy
on,
enough.
are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah, I'm from Rockport, which is like
Okay, so the
15
hotel,
minutes from
the
there.
Hawthorne Hotel, right? What's the hotel? That right in Salem, the beautiful hotel, the brunch. It's
I'm not sure.
Scotty, did you ever date a witch?
What's the best?
I've dated a few witches, but
Oh, you witches! Scotty, what's the most exclusive hotel there? It's world famous.
In Salem?
Salem.
I
yeah.
will look it up. We'll find out.
God damn! I wish.
Hey, who's going to win the Stanley Cup? Is it Boston?
I think the Bruins. Yeah,
Really?
I mean, I'm a homer. It's
Okay.
either Bruins or Oilers is my pick.
All right. Well, the Oilers lost yesterday. We're gonna find out, and also I fly into Boston, so I'll let you know. See the. Then I go to Salem from Boston.
You know, I was in Boston a few months ago because the guy I'm doing the book on about
that's
Varsity
big.
Blues,
That's gonna
which
be
is going to be
huge.
a scandal of all scandals when we can announce the details of this book. But it's going to be a huge national story in about 2 months. But I worked in Boston, right? I was a sports anchor at Fox. They ran me out of town, literally.
We had one of your guys on the
Yeah,
on the show, too.
Butch, he's still laughing his ass off at me because he got my job because, when I left. So, but Butch and I are very, very close. But, whenever it just wasn't the right fit for me because all the Boston teams were terrible back then. Now, the last 20 years, they've been great. So I would rip them. Carl Everett, Bill Belichick. It's when he had just started out. And don't get me started on how I feel about Bill
I know
Belichick.
that.
You all know that I think he's the most overrated coach
I know that.
ever. And I can't stand it when people tarnish their legacy because they don't know when to let go or they don't have the self-awareness to know maybe it wasn't all me. Maybe I should leave and gravy train off Tom Brady for the rest of my life and have people think that I was that great. Or I could go 500 or under for 6 years and get exposed. But anyway, so I went back to Boston for the first time in 22 years, and I had a good time. A different perspective, different feeling now when they weren't hating me.
It's going to be raining. But
All right,
it's
you have a
okay.
great trip to Massachusetts.
Thank you so much. It's
Okay,
gonna be
we're going to
fun.
keep things rolling. Scotty, thanks. Last minute little
Of course.
podcast here.
1 degree of Scandalous, people.
Download,
Watch.
subscribe, give us some reviews. A lot of things happening. Follow Kato on social media. You're going to hear what he's going to be doing surrounding the OJ thing. And we're going to make an announcement in a couple weeks about something that we've got that the whole world's going to be able to see here very, very soon. So exciting stuff. Don't watch the news too much. It's depressing. For Kato Kalin, I'm Tom Zenner. Thanks, Scotty. We'll catch you guys next week. 1 degree of Scandalous.